All right, everyone, I guess that means I can go ahead and start. So my name is Logan. As Paul likes to say, I'm an international worldwide speaker. I'm YouTube famous at this point, so feel free to subscribe to me on YouTube. But anyway, so I'm teaching a class today that I've called Farm Talk. What I want to kind of go over is some of the issues that the agriculture industry faces. I want to talk about some key knowledge that everyone should have. I'm going to show you what you should know and what you don't know about agriculture, and that's okay because we're not going to be experts on it. And I want to dive a little bit into the mindset of someone that does own a farm, some of the things that they're probably going to be thinking about, and some of the things that might be valuable to you. So it'll be a lot of general content that we're going to talk about that's just kind of based on what people do and don't know about farms. But we'll go ahead and get started. If Preston wants to go ahead and turn the lights on. Can everyone see that? Okay, so I'm going to be fairly interactive today. So there's going to be times where y'all probably need you all to unmute your mics at some point to answer some questions. So let's go ahead and get started with a hot take on agriculture on a video I probably should have pulled up beforehand. We'll go ahead and start this video. Oh gosh, it's probably going to be tough now. Just play video. Hold on.
42 study that was done by
Hey, Paul, is there a way to make it louder?
Maybe.
I've got an idea. Hold on. We'll do it like this. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear it. And see it, I guess. Get a little bigger. And some of you may have seen this. I think this is always funny. I like this one.
According to a new study that was done by Consumer Reports, a majority of packaged goods that are labeled natural are actually contain genetically modified ingredients, which makes it unclear, as to whether they are natural or not, because they grow, but they've been modified in a laboratory or whatever. Apparently, the FDA will allow companies to put the word natural on a product label as long as it says JKLOL on the back of the product. But critics of genetically modified organisms or GMOs claim that they pose health risks. It's a complicated issue, though, because there isn't a lot of evidence to back that up. Still, some people are dead set against them. There's been legislation designed to limit GMOs. You see documentaries and angry Facebook posts about it. How many of you do not want GMOs in your body? Yes? Okay. So, as I usually do,
Raise your hand if you know what a GMO is.
Catherine's raising her hand.
Okay. Does anyone want to say what a GMO is? Anyone brave enough?
Go, Catherine. You raised your hand.
I shouldn't have. Genetically modified, which is basically almost anything we have nowadays, is a GMO.
Okay. We'll talk more about it. Let's keep going.
when people take a stance on a complicated issue, I wondered how many people who are against GMOs really know what they are. So we sent a crew to one of our local farmers markets to ask people why they avoid GMOs, and more specifically, what the letters GMOs stand for. Enjoy.
Do you try to avoid GMOs in your diet?
I do.
Yeah. Tell me why.
There's just a vibration with GMOs. For me personally, just something that I don't particularly want to put in my body.
What does GMO stand for?
Genetically modified. Genetically modified.
Really?
I don't know.
Bishop Don Magic Wand, what is a GMO? Well, I'm not really sure. You have to make me familiar with that. What is a GMO? Do you try to avoid GMOs in your diet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is that?
Just the effects, I guess, on myself.
What does GMO stand for?
Man, put me on the let's see. I don't even remember.
Do you try to avoid GMOs in your diet?
Absolutely,
Why?
because they're not good for you.
What is a GMO?
It's genetically modified. I don't know, what is it?
If you are eating whole foods, you want to eat what you're eating. You know, you want to eat what you see, and so, and you're avoiding processed foods, but when the whole food is somehow contaminated, that's avoiding, that's kind of making it a moot point.
What do GMO stand for?
Genetically manufactured.
What is a GMO?
Genetically modified ingredient, right?
What is a GMO?
It's some modified.
Anyways, I think you all get the point with that. So not a lot of people know what GMOs are. And the reason that I want to start with that is because it's kind of a hot topic, or it's been a hot topic for several years at this point. It might not be something that you come across while having a conversation with a farmer, but does anyone know what a GMO is? We've got genetically modified. You know the O? Do you know it? I think so. Anyone take a guess? Preston, you take a guess? Organism. Organism, a genetically modified organism. So a GMO, what is it? Let's get out of that. So a GMO is a genetically modified organism. The reason I'm going to say that it's not entirely unnatural is because make sure you can see it. For centuries now, we've been cultivating animals. We've been crops. I mean, we crossbreed all of them. So it could be, let's say, dogs, for example. How do we get dog breeds? We crossbreed two dog breeds for so long that it becomes a new one. Plants are very much the same. There's a reason why corn is the way it is and why it's as productive as it is today. And that's because corn has been crossbred so many times and so many variations of it have come up that we've got natural versions of it that are more sustainable in other climates. So a GMO is the art of genetically modifying, taking a more desirable trait that's within a crop or a plant, a animal, anything. It's mostly done in crops in the US, and putting it in that plant. So say, for example, you want corn that is more drought resistant. Well, let's take a drought resistant gene that maybe we see in another plant and let's put it in here. So instead of it taking 50, 100 years to get the desired gene to occur every time in that corn, let's get it tomorrow. And let's have it ready and more sustainable for the future. What are your all's thoughts on world hunger? You can just raise your hand. Do you think it's an issue? Anybody think world hunger is an issue? If you think world hunger is an issue, somebody said, Sierra said world hunger is an issue, right? So what if I could tell you that crops that maybe aren't designed for hotter climates, let's take a desert, for example, just a desert. It could be anywhere in the world. A lot of crops don't grow very well in dry climates, right? Most of them don't. Corn, maybe. Soybeans, maybe. Some other crops may not grow so very well. What if we created, let's take an apple tree. What if we created apples that were drought resistant? They could now grow in climates that they couldn't before, or maybe a climate that has world hunger issues, or in a country that has issues with world hunger. Now we've created a plant that they can grow and get the nutrients that they need. Does that sound like a good idea? I would think so. Let's talk about economic insecurity, another issue facing agriculture right now, and possibly the biggest of the issues facing agriculture right now is economic insecurity. It's something that we're all worried about right now. We're all worried about inflation. We're all worried about rises in prices of fuel, materials, resources of all kinds. A farm is no different. It may cost you more right now to get a hunk of beef at the grocery store, but that does not mean a farmer is making any more money right now. The cost of all the materials and resources needed for them to get those supplies right now is more than they've ever been. So just because the cost of your hamburger or your steak or your chicken might be up right now, that doesn't mean they're making more money right now. So it's definitely major concern. Let's talk about the cost of a farm in general. Farms don't generally make a lot of money. Most farms probably don't around here. Most of them are probably hobby farms. So if a farm is making money, They're not making much of it. So the cost margins, even before this economic crisis, were extremely, extremely tight, and now they're even tighter. So if you put yourself in the perspective of a farmer, things are tough right now. Most farmers, in fact, especially dairy farmers, which has been an industry that's hit for years now, probably have second jobs even. So you've got a 9 to 5, maybe more than that job already in a farm, 7 days a week. It's not just 5 days a week. That you now have to go get a second job just to make ends meet because your farm's not making money. Because it's been in the family for generations, and I can't give it up. That's everything. So just some things to think about. I got a little fun fact. Does anyone know what the typical cost of a tractor is? You know?
$300,000.
300,000. Anyone else got any other guesses?
Let's say 63,000.
63,000.
45,000.
45. Anyone want to share with anyone buy a car recently? What'd you pay for your car recently? If anyone wants to share.
Nobody wants to tell how much they paid.
Realtors don't want to admit what they pay for their car. Somebody said, is it 45K? Okay. That would be a very cheap tractor. I'll just put that in perspective for you. So you don't make much money, and your tractor, a tool that is probably the most famous piece of equipment that's on a farm, probably a one that every farm has, that'd be a cheap new tractor. Tractors can range from anywhere between used tractor. You can get a used tractor, might not do what you want it to. Something like this could cost as much as $200,000. That's crazy, very crazy. Some of the other issues facing agriculture right now, and this one's kind of one we've talked about a little bit. Does anyone know what food security is? Anyone define food security? Let's say, Catherine, where's your next meal coming from?
I buy the food from the store and then I cook it at home.
Okay. Do you know what you're doing for dinner?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay. So you are food secure. So you do not lack food security. So that's what food security is. Someone that doesn't know where their next meal is going to come from. Someone that doesn't know if they can afford their next meal. And that kind of goes into the world hunger issue. That's a major, major issue facing agriculture. How do we give them the food that they need? A lot of kids, if they rely on just free and reduced lunch to get their food, that's food insecurity. So that's an issue facing agriculture, and something to think about whenever you think about the agriculture industry. Drought. There's a lot of Western states, there's a lot of conversation that there might not be enough water to support their agriculture in the next few years. Might not be enough drinking water, period, in a lot of the Western states. It's a big conversation in states like Arizona right now. We don't get it as much here just because we're a little bit more of a humid climate, but it might be a conversation here eventually. Ag literacy. Does anyone know what ag literacy is? It's probably one of my favorite on the list. Okay, that's great, because we're probably all agriculturally illiterate, and we're going to jump more into that. Is there any other issues that you can think of that are facing agriculture or farms currently right now? There's a ton. You can name a bunch.
So the local farmer is being sort of pushed out for corporate.
Yeah. Yeah, the big farms really right now are the only ones that are making significant amounts of money. If you want to make a lot of money growing crops, you probably need 1,000 acres. Economies of scale, exactly. Anyone know any other issues? It's fine if you don't. We'll move on. So here's some of the key knowledge. Go ahead. What was that?
We import a lot of food from other countries.
Yeah, we import a lot of food from other countries. That's great. And a lot of other countries import food from us or other places. And let's talk about a key issue that's going on right now. What about all the issues going on in Ukraine right now? What happens if an issue like that breaks out somewhere else where we import food? Or what if an issue like that were to arise here and other countries can't get our food? That's always a concern. What would we do if we couldn't get the food that we needed to feed our country? Food prices are going to go up. Could everyone afford that? Probably not right now. So here's some of the key knowledge that I want to talk about. 2% feeds 100% of the world. What I mean by that is 2% of our entire population, less than 2% even, feeds 100% of it. That's a mind-boggling stat. There's only 2% of the population that's a farmer. The average age of a farmer, does anyone know what the average age currently is of a farmer? Anyone take a guess?
I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say 50.
Okay, that was the same as Preston's guess. Anyone else?
I'm gonna say 60.
60? What's the average age of a real estate agent right now? Does anyone know that?
55.
50.
50? Okay. Add about 10 years onto that for someone that's in the agriculture as a farmer. It's about 65. Anyone know what retirement age is by chance? Retirement age? It's 65. I'll drop it out there. So the average age of a farmer is right at retirement age. So a lot of them right now are in a position where there's not really a lot of young people getting into the industry. There's some. I was going to go into the industry. I'm not anymore. That's an issue. Yeah, thank you, Preston. That's an issue that's facing agriculture. That's a big issue facing it. We need more young people in the industry. Big issue that's facing them right now. The population right now is growing. We've seen it for years now. The average age or the population is supposed to hit like 10 billion by 2050. How do we feed those people? We don't know. If 2% is already feeding 100%, from the perspective of a real estate agent, what do we need more of if the population hits 10 billion? More housing. Preston said we're going to need more houses. Yes, everyone's favorite thing. More houses are great for us. Where do we get those houses? Farmer Joe went out of business. Farmer Joe went out of business. So a farm went out of business. There's no longer a farm in place. We're developing this piece of land to build all of these houses on. So now that 2% is now lost, and now the amount of land that's being used to feed us is now lost. So that just means there's more people, less land, and agriculture has to get more efficient than it's ever been before. And then that comes back into the conversation of that GMO question is, how do we make it more environmentally friendly? How do we make the crops better? How do we become more sustainable? How do we become more efficient? How do we make profit margins better? All issues facing agriculture right now. There's a little bit of a misconception about farmers. I think when we think about them or stereotype, we think of this kind of dumb hillbilly overalls, like that's your typical American thought of a farmer, right? Did you know that 70% of farmers in the US have higher education above a high school diploma? What do you think it is for a real estate agent? Probably not that, I'd be willing to bet, considering you only need a high school diploma. So farmers, another kind of misconception about them, they don't care about the environment. Their cows are farming all over the place. They're polluting us up. They don't care about their land. They don't care. What if you started sabotaging all of your relationships with your clients? Would you sell many houses? What if a farmer sabotaged the land he relies on to make income, or the land that his grandfather before that farmed? They really do care about the environment. That's the point that I'm getting to. It's kind of a misconception about farmers. They really care about the environment, but somewhere along the lines, a lot of people got in their head that farmers don't care about the environment. 97% of all farms are U.S. owned, or all U.S. farms are family owned. So we think about that for a minute. When we're having a conversation with a farmer down the line, what does the conversation need to be about? What does our mindset need to be when going into it? You probably should be aware that it's family owned, and the conversation is going to go around their family, and their concerns are probably going to be about their family. We're going to jump a little bit more into that. So what do we know about agriculture? If I say the word agriculture, can anyone define the word agriculture? I said farm, go ahead.
Is it basically just food production, growing crops, or raising cattle?
Kind of. So some of that, what you talked about, is farming, purely farming. So farming makes up 2% of the U.S. population, but agriculture in its entirety makes up around a third of the US economy. So how is a third of the US economy, or roughly a quarter to a third, maybe somewhere between that one, how does that 2% correlate to that? So agriculture is much more complex than we think it is. A farm is a very small part of what agriculture is. What about the butcher that processed the cow? What about the truck driver that took it to the grocery store? What about the grocery store that sells it? Those are all parts of the agriculture industry. So that's just one example of how complex the agriculture industry is. So what do we know about agriculture? Not much. The US population does not know about agriculture. And that comes down to the issue we talked about earlier in ag literacy. People just don't really know what it is at this point. Someone in your family was likely a farmer at some point, because everyone farmed somewhere down the line. But we are so far removed from a farm that we don't know what it is. We get frustrated as real estate agents that people don't understand what we do, and we tell them all day long. But there's probably more things and issues that people don't know about in this industry. And that's fine. We don't have to pretend that we know about farms. So when you're at a farm having a conversation with these farmers about selling their farm, you don't have to know everything. They don't want you to know everything. They want to be the expert, because guess what? You have not been milking cows at 4 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. every day for your whole life. You've not done it. So why should you know about it? They don't expect you to know about it, and they don't want you to pretend you know about it. So don't try to pretend you know about it. Be open, ask the right questions whenever you're on a farm, be confident, and we'll jump into that more too. Can anyone tell me what's in this picture?
Cows.
Okay. Okay, we've got cows, cattle. Let's see what's there. So I did not come from a farming family. So I went to an all agriculture high school, and my degree is in agriculture. So we got cows, cattle, grass, things like that. Let's talk about the definition of a cow. I'm going to show you how much you do or don't know. And you probably can't see it, so I'll read it to you. The definition of a cow. The adult female of cattle from the date of first calving is called a cow. Do you know if those are females? How many have they birthed? Do you know how many cows they have? So if we go up to a field, I'm just going to go ahead and show you. If you walk around with a farmer and you say, how many cows do you own? Is it a cow field? Is it a cow barn? Instantly going to know what you don't know what it's talking about. It's cattle. Cattle is a general word for it. Cows are females, mature females that have birthed a calf. So that's just one example that we really don't know what we're talking about. So keep going. So it's the most misunderstood industry, like we've talked about. Why is it the most misunderstood industry? Does anyone know? Except we as agents get frustrated, but we tell them all day long. Does anyone know why it's so misunderstood? Sarah, you want to take a crack at it? Let me see. Why is agriculture or farming the most misunderstood industry in your eyes?
Maybe we don't get educated about it.
Lack of knowledge, yeah, that's a great point. But even deeper than that, we as agents, when people don't understand, we jump to our TikToks to tell them, our YouTubes, we get in front of them and tell them how it works. We tell them, this is how agency works. You probably shouldn't talk to other agents. If you're going to be working with me, you're going to piss them off. How many times do you see farmers getting out places and explaining things? You know why they're not doing that? Because they're too busy feeding you. And that's why you don't know much about farming. We're too quick to believe what we see grandma posting on Facebook about how GMOs are bad for you and you shouldn't eat them and they're toxic, or about how you should always eat all natural organic food. What is that? We don't know. So why do people have such strong opinions about it? It's because we as a society are so far removed from it And farms make up such a big part of what we are, but farmers don't tell us what they do. So the mindset of a farmer, someone that is probably at retirement age. So whenever you're talking to them, just know that there's a very strong chance that they are 65-ish, 70, 50-ish. They're going to be older. Their kids may be in it. There might be some that you come across that have someone that's young, probably not my age. My guess is if you're selling it, if someone is selling a farm, odds are there's not a young person there to take over the farm. So your conversation is probably not going to be with someone that's your age. So what is a farmer really like? Does anyone want to take a guess what a farmer is really like? We've talked about it some. So farmers are much higher educated than you think they are. They're a lot smarter than you think they are. But let's dump a little bit more into their mindset. Why would a farmer really be selling? And hard-ass workers. That's a very good point. We think we work a lot. If you tell them about how much you've been working and how much you're doing, they're gonna say, oh yeah, it's probably really hard opening doors all the time. As I'm waking up at 4 a.m. and finishing at 10 p.m. every night, every day, with no vacations, because somebody's got to feed the cows or cattle. So that's going to be their mindset. They're going to be hardworking people, but not only that, some of their concerns that they're going to have. Think about where they've gotten these farms. These farms are family owned and operated, so they've come from a long generation of farms. Every so often, you'll get that one that somebody bought, and that it's going to come that they bought at some point. And they just want to sell it, but they don't have the same mindset as someone else. Odds are these farms have been passed on for generations. Does anyone have any family heirlooms in their life? Anybody have a family heirloom that's been passed on for generations? Okay, so most of us probably have something that's been passed on throughout our family. To them, it's not just a house that they bought or a property that they bought. It's something that their grandfather farmed, their grandfather before that. It's kind of like Yellowstone, just without all the dramatics. They farmed it for years. So to them, it's going to have a lot more of a sentimental attachment to it, because farming is not just something that they like to do or something that they do make money. It's their way of life. It's their belief. It's their religion. It's the code that they run by. That's who they are. They believe in working like that constantly, because that's what they've always done. And that's what they know. So it's a busy lifestyle. They don't do it for money. So farmers are not in it for the money. So if you start attacking them with all this money stuff when you're having these conversations, they're probably not going to like it. They're going to be uncomfortable with it. Now, if you tell them how much they're going to make on the farm, maybe if that's what they're interested in, that could be a good conversation. But odds are it's not going to be an easy conversation. There could be more than one seller. Grandpa passed on his farm to his 3 kids. Those 3 kids had 3 kids apiece and passed them on to their 3 kids. Half of them don't want it anymore. The other half want to sell it at this point. The half that wants to keep it can't afford to buy the other ones out, so you just sell it. It's going to be tough conversations all the way around, and it might not be that many people. It could be 2 people. One wants to keep it, and the other one doesn't want to. Forced to sell it because the other one can't buy the other one out. So the conversations are going to be tough. It's not going to be good to talk about money. Put yourself in their shoes. Be sympathetic with them. It's a lot of passion that they have in their hearts about the farm. It's who they are. So farmers love a few things when it comes to farming. They love to feed you. They really, really genuinely love to do it. They don't just love the work. They love the end result of being able to say, I fed this many families this week. I fed 70 people this week. They also love their animals. Believe it or not, they don't just send their animals to slaughter just for funsies. Like, funny. They all got slaughtered today. They really love their animals. This guy right here in this picture, which you probably can't see very well. Oh, you can kind of see it. He had to ask somebody to take a picture with him, and a job of him with his cattle, a job he does every day. It's probably done his whole life. He's like, hey, take a picture with me. You think he loves his animals? I think so. They love what they do. They love their land. more importantly, and we've talked a lot about that. They love their land. So, what is a farmer going to think of you whenever you have this meeting with them or start talking with them? They're going to be skeptical of you. We as a society, we just don't know much about farming. That's okay. They're going to be very skeptical of you. Ask the right questions, probe them about what they do. Don't just start assuming, oh, this is used for that. You use that for that, right? No, ask them like, what is your concerns with it? What are your goals with it? What are you trying to do? What do you do here? Ask the right questions and they will tell you what they do. They're not afraid to. They're just usually too busy to tell you what they do. And that's why you don't hear about it very much. Don't pretend like you know it. It's tough work. They like to do it. Let them be the experts on it. Let you be the expert on how to sell it. You don't have to know everything that they do on it because they're going to tell you. You be the expert of what you're doing in real estate. Let them be the expert of agriculture. Be confident. I can tell you just in my first year of real estate, you could sell any kind of house, any kind of real estate, if you just walk in with just supreme confidence. They got to have a little bit of knowledge, but you should walk in there and know that you are the right person for the job. Doesn't matter how much you know, how much you should know, or how much you feel like you should know. You're the right person for the job because you're confident and know you are. That's all that matters. So we've talked about it some, but we get our inventory. I wrote down where do we get our inventory? We get our inventory from farmers. So if we go in and start these conversations off with, how many developments we've worked with and homes that we've seen a lot of developments of farms, they're probably not going to like it very much. So maybe a conversation to avoid whenever you're on these trips is talking about, man, the developer would have a heyday here. Probably not something good to say to a farmer because they love their land. They want to see someone else love it just as much as they did. So some final thoughts to go around and then we'll ask for some questions. Does anyone know how many times in their life that you need a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate agent, any of the three? Anyone want to shout out how much you need one of those? Or put it in the chat. In a lifetime, yeah. Or in a week, in a month, in a year. How many times in your life do you need a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate agent? Preston, you want to name one?
A doctor you're gonna need 200 times in your lifetime.
200 times in your lifetime? Okay, that's good. What about a lawyer? How many times do you need a lawyer in your lifetime?
Yeah, I'm talking about the end, but I'm not.
Well, no, just in your life so far.
Probably 15 times.
15,
20 times.
That's probably more than some people want.
I've been married a lot.
What about a real estate agent? Some people stay in their house for 30. Sierra thought it was funny. Some people stay in their house for 30 years and sell one time, and then they go on to the home. Well, maybe not 30, it might be more like a 50 or 60, but you see what I mean? You're not going to need these people very often. How often do you need a farmer?
Every day.
Every day. What do you mean by that?
I'm not growing anything myself.
So you need, Preston nailed it. You need a farmer every day, 3 times a day, to provide you 3 square meals per day. So you need them every single day. It is the most relied on profession in the United States. So do you trust your doctors? Does everyone trust the doctors? Everyone trust the advice a doctor gives? Everyone trusts the advice their lawyer gives to them? Everyone trusts the advice the real estate agent gives to them? Probably not. Most people don't trust that advice. Why don't we trust the advice that farmers give to us? They do give it, and they do tell us what they're doing sometimes, but we choose not to believe them. So when they do give you this advice, whenever you go on a walk through or meet them, believe them. They're the professional of what they do. So I'm going to ask if you've got any questions at the end of what I had for you all. It was just kind of some general agriculture knowledge and to jump into some of the mindset of what a farmer might be thinking about, some of the concerns that they might have. You might not have questions, but if you got some, hit me.
Tell everyone to Google rain on the scarecrow.
Preston says Google rain on the scarecrow.
How long have you gone to what it knows that?
I don't even know what that is.
You shouldn't. You're too young.
Well, if nobody has questions, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Nice job, Logan. Very good. Oh, wait a minute. Caitlin asks what farm loans are available.
Great question. The places that I would go, of course, you've got your typical USDA loans that are available. There's a lot of other options besides USDA, and I can send them over to you. There's two big companies, and there's more than these, but these are the two more famous ones that you can go to or lending options. So the loans that you would get on a farm are a lot different. So you've got ag credit and farm credit are two of the big ones. Maybe lean more towards ag credit. I've heard better things about them. But they offer farm loans. Not only that, but there's a lot of individual loans that you can get for it too. Say, for example, you've got someone that doesn't currently own a farm and they want to buy cattle, or they need the seeds to buy corn or hemp or whatever it is. They don't have the money for it. They've only got the money to buy the land. So one of these loan programs or lenders might offer some loan programs on something like that. So they offer loans on cattle and things like that. So ag credit, farm credit, two of the big companies within that space. Yeah, there are some government loans for it. There's a lot of, I think the USDA website has a lot, yeah, it does take a lot longer. The USDA website has a lot of other options for it. Farm and ag credit are kind of your, just kind of typical lenders, your bigger banks that you see, very similar to that.
I had something to add about that.
Yeah.
I'm working with someone who is getting financing. It's directly through USDA for a beginner's farm loan.
Yeah.
And it's for like young people looking to get into it. It's 0% down, 3% interest, and they'll go up to 40 years.
Yeah.
But the process is really long.
Yeah, USDA offers a lot more options than what people think they are. It's not just the 0% down loans that you get for a house. There's a lot of beginner farm loans that they have. But besides, those are kind of the obvious ones. You might not know about the specific ones that they have, but yeah, they're really good. They're good for a reason.
There's a lot of loans with agriculture that you can specifically put in fencing, proposed fencing, proposed barns, and you can actually finance that in with those agricultural loans. I have a pig farmer we are looking for a farm that we are specifically doing that with rural credit right now. So just know that if people are wanting to do that kind of things, they can finance fencing and a barn into a loan with those lenders.
Yeah.
It's good as a real estate agent who wants to do that, to know a little bit about it, but the best thing for that is to know a good loan officer that can take care of you for that. Like even with your single family housing, you have lenders you like to work with because they're good at the knowledge they have and also the products they carry. And it's the same thing with folks for farms. You don't have to know it all. It's like you don't have to know it all about the farm. You just have to know the right people and have them ask the right questions.
Yeah, I would not call my residential lender that I use. I mean, she could approve a USDA loan. She's not who I would call if I had someone that wanted to buy a farm. So I would definitely call someone that has a lot of experience with a USDA loan. Someone at the rural credits or the ag credits or the farm credits, one of those. Any other questions or comments or concerns?
Doesn't look like it. Great job, Logan. Always awesome.
Thank you, Paul. World-class speaker here.
You have a reputation to uphold now.
Yeah, I guess so. Teaching more classes in the weeks to come. So if you want to come to those, let me know.
Well, we're looking forward to it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Logan. He will sure tell you all about agriculture and farms. And there's a lot of great information in there. That's a great point about the cows because, yeah, you can quickly show how little you know by calling it, saying that number of cows. So,
yeah.
All right.
I wouldn't use specific terminology unless you're just very confident of what it means. I mean, you can very quickly show what you don't know. But if there's ever a time that you're going to sell a farm or need help in agriculture, have a question about it, feel free to reach out to me. Even if I don't have the answer, I mean, that's what I've done for the past 8 or so years in agriculture. I can probably go find it for you. So.
All right. Thank you, Logan.
Yep.
See you guys.
See you all.